all of you survivors out there, I just want to thank you and welcome to this unscripted, unplanned mini episode. If we are slurring, it's because we are pretty much balls deep into our annual Halloween party, as you can see, and I am right ripped on Tenafly Viper and an unhealthy combination with Frankenberry cereal.
And if there are any other survivors out there anywhere, if you want to stop by Mega Hit Video, you can get one free Halloween candy, one per customer as per Mega Hit policy. Actually, you know what? I'm shitting you. We got no candy left. I ate every single drop of it.
I got nothing. I'll give you a swig of beer and maybe a little bit of Tenafly, but I'm pretty much down to my last case. So you're going to have to deal with that.
Do you have any candy in your store?
I've actually got a few box of Punkies. I do have some Fun Dip, some Garfield chewing gum, but at this particular point, the last time I actually broke into my wacky packages and ate some of the gum, I had almost near terminal diarrhea for 3 days.
Did it just turn to powder?
I practically turned to powder.
What was your favorite wacky package, actually?
Probably the 86, 87 line. I did like Ghoul Humor. I liked also Playbug Magazine. How about you?
Oh, was Chock full of Guts one of them?
Chock full of Guts, chock full of, I don't know, it was all, yeah, I can't remember. There was a whole bunch of different ones, but I do love, were you a Wackies or a Garbage Pail Kid?
I was more Garbage Pail Kids. Yeah, Wackies were hard to come by. Garbage Pail Kids were in every store. Wackies, you hardly ever saw one.
Wacky stickers, they were kind of like, they weren't as frowned upon as much as Garbage Pail Kids because they were actually kind of banned from a lot of places.
Garbage Pail Kids were banned?
God, yes, the Catholic Church. I remember a bunch of parents were all like telling their kids to, like, they were confiscating and burning them.
You grew up in like the Footloose village. Like, what do you mean? They were out burning wacky packages and Garbage Pail Kids in your town?
Oh man, it was brutal. Anyways, you got me kind of, talking about wacky stickers and Garbage Pail Kids, you got me kind of nostalgic. I'm just kind of thinking about some of the fun treats that we used to get when we were kids. What was your favorite candy you used to get on Halloween?
I love the little boxes of Nerds. The tiny ones that make you look like Andre the Giant. More so because they're just so tiny and you look so large.
Ones I absolutely adored was the little square cardboard boxes with like Dracula and Frankenstein and the Wolfman on them. You remember that? It was like a really chalky little candy on the inside.
Oh yes, I remember those, and they were very rare. More so than the rare, elusive monsters of film candies, though. I actually liked any house you went to that gave you like a full-size bag of chips or like a giant full-size chocolate bar, because that was almost, you didn't score that easy.
That would be like stumbling upon Bigfoot.
Oh my god, it was like Shangri-La, and you know what? That was the type of house where you'd run home, change into another outfit, and get back out to get another sack of candy.
What was your absolute least favorite?
Oh gosh, my least favorite? I always hated those little packages of Good and Plenty, which was nothing but like this gross black licorice flavor candy. Who likes black licorice when they're a kid?
No, but perverts. I will say this though, there is something more sinister and more vile that you could get. Something far beyond razor blades in apples. I would prefer this than Kerr's Molasses Kisses.
You know what? Is that the ones with the witch on it?
The little witches and the ghosts. I mean, that was just... You'd come home with a haul on Halloween and, your parents would look through it and you would just put a pile of that to the side and just give that to your father.
Do you know what I was just going to say? I remember giving that away to my father and being like, you enjoy these candies, Dad, pretending I was sharing. But now that I'm older, I would eat the shit out of one of those candies right now.
I don't know, would I?
Yes, you would. I would crush it up, I'd lay it down, and I'd snort it up like a rail.
I'm sure if the Kerr's Molasses Kisses were still alive, they'd probably enjoy that and probably sponsor us.
Yep.
I tell you, what was an absolute cop-out as well? When you would either get a handful of change because they weren't prepared for Halloween. It's like, you go buy it. That happened several times, and I tell you, what was also depressing too? When someone would come and give you a handful of Werther's Originals. Speaking of old people.
Oh my god, those hard Werthers.
As soon as you turn like 65, Werthers just start growing in your pocket.
And you know what? It's funny because when old people pop a Werther's, they suck on it like. But when I get a Werther's in my mouth, I immediately go and I crush it up and swallow it.
I can't wait to get the goddamn thing done. I feel like it's sucking my youth away.
No matter what you liked or what you hated, I think we can both agree on one thing. Swedish fish were the best thing ever.
I loved Swedish fish. Sorry, man, I gotta take this costume off. I am dying of heat, and I just poured this beer like an asshole.
She's got a big head.
What was your best costume you had? Were you one of these Don Post kids, or did you actually were you one of these poor ones that had to go around with these plastic Ben Coopers?
Oh no, I was a Ben Cooper kid. If I was Ben Cooper, I went as Don Johnson from the Miami Vice series, of course, one year, which was just really a cotton suit that we got in Florida. But I did put a gun in my waistband.
I remember my mother dressed me up as Mr. T in blackface. I was going around with all her jewelry on and all my grandmother's jewelry with a cut-off jean vest, and we painted me black, and we did like a strip of kind of like dark brown carpeting for my head, and we kind of like glued it on.
Well, I'm really flattered that you tried to look like me.
Okay, listen, I can't keep drinking like this at this rate. I'm going to collapse. Why don't we get into our movies? What do you got selected for me tonight?
The Hills Have Eyes, which I find terrifying.
Man, I got to be honest with you. I found that one a lot more upsetting than even Last House on the Left.
Oh, absolutely. I think, Last House on the Left, I was going to call it a sex romp. It's not a sex romp. When compared to The Hills Have Eyes, which is just balls to the wall, insanity.
So for any survivors out there that have no idea what this is and they're looking for a good recommendation, The Hills Have Eyes, what's it about?
Cannibal family living in the nuked out desert, I guess. Mutants, eating people, kidnapping people, raping them. I mean, The Hills Have Eyes is a very dark movie, man.
Not a sex romp.
Well, no, but yes, a sex romp when compared to... No, no, there's nothing worse. I find it to be the creepiest movie. There's nothing worse than The Hills Have Eyes for me.
The Hills Have Eyes, absolutely an awesome recommendation for a Halloween night, but I gotta say, I want to go a little bit more PG related for any families out there that have somehow survived. I want to go with Disney Noir, and I'm going to go with Ray Bradbury's Something Wicked This Way Comes. Do you remember that?
Oh my god, that movie kept me awake for days because I was expecting spiders in my bed.
This was that particular period, which I do call Disney Noir, when they were producing Watcher in the Woods, Escape the Witch Mountain. Really brooding, dark stuff. Not graphic, not offensive at all. Something you could watch with a family. But man, oh man, the atmosphere is absolutely thick in this film.
Can I recommend one more Disney flick?
What? Mr. Boogedy. I knew you were going to say Mr. Boogedy. That movie scared the living hell out of me. Who's in that?
Who's that the big guy with the mustache? Oh my god, if only we had access to
an online...
We got answers.
Right now, you would call it immediately. You'd be like...
Call the encyclopedia line.
You'd call the encyclopedia line right now. What is his name?
I think it's Richard Mazer or something like that.
Oh my god, yes! Okay, that is his name. You should, Philip, if the world ever comes back, you should work at the encyclopedia line. You did that very well.
He was also the dad that was in not License to Kill, but License to Drive. He was James Bond's dad in License to Kill. When he had a license to kill, but he lied about his permit and went out and killed someone, but he never really had it.
God, that'd be a brilliant movie poster. Woo!
I think it is Richard Mazer, though, or something like that.
Yeah, and scarier thing about Mr. Boogedy, it was on TV.
Oh, it was. It was on The Wonderful World of Disney Sunday night. I remember it was like 2-part. But you know what I hate? Hey, you're trying to steal my thunder on Something Wicked This Way Comes.
No,
There's just another thing that I wanted to say about Something Wicked This Way Comes. Kind of interesting. There was a lot of people...
oh, I'm sorry. Now I understand what's happening. You've got some trivia that you want to share about this movie.
I do. There is something about this movie that I really want to get across here, because a lot of people own the rights for this movie. This movie was meddled with. It's kind of controversial. It was a colossal bomb. But there is somebody who actually wanted to make this originally, and it was a very young Don Coscarelli, who you know made Phantasm.
Oh, interesting. Interesting. Philip, sometimes you're like talking to a university professor. I feel like I should be writing that down. I'm like, ooh, this is going to be on the midterm.
Coscarelli never got the rights to do it, so he decided to create Phantasm instead. And there is like there's a lot of similarities between the two. And speaking of Phantasm, that's kind of a nice little segue into the next one that I have here, which is Kenny and Company, which is another G-rated movie at this particular point, not Disney. Now I know what you're thinking, Corey. Has Philip gone soft? No, I just kind of like these kind of movies because, yeah, sure, we could talk about the Driller, Killer, Maniac, The Burning, Terror Train, all those, but I'm kind of nostalgic about the good old days talking to you tonight. And Kenny and Company, directed by Don Coscarelli. It was his second film, actually. It's really charming, and it's about a 12-year-old boy and his whole his life, dealing with bullies, the young hot girl next door, his dog dying, and he and his best friend, who actually is Michael Baldwin from Phantasm. They're getting ready for Halloween, and it's just a really fun time capsule for 1970.
I gotta tell you, I feel like you're pussing out.
Oh, well, what?
2 kids movies? You know what? I'll tell you this much. If your third pick is Charlie Brown and the Great Pumpkin, I'm finding you across the barren landscapes of the destroyed Earth, and I'm gonna stab you in the heart.
Shit, I was gonna bring up Ernest Scared Stupid, but I'm not messing around with that tonight.
I want you to tell me one movie that if I watch it, I'm never gonna fucking forget it.
There is a movie that I know that you've seen. Maybe you've forgotten about it. It's kind of like the lesser known or the less unspoken of Tom Savini film, Prowler.
Oh yeah, okay, Prowler. I gotta tell you, I just noticed in the camera, it looks like I have banana breasts because the way this costume lies. I didn't realize how voluptuous I looked in this.
No, I've actually got the display there for the Prowler. What a dark, grisly movie. Absolutely grim. Do you remember when he takes that big old bayonet and he shoves it down through the guy's head and he pulls up and his eyes are completely white? Only Savini could master that.
Yeah, okay. You're making me scared now. It's perfect for Halloween. Woof.
Well, there you go. You called me out. You're making fun of me. You're questioning my honor with Kenny and Company and Something Wicked This Way Comes. Flip you.
Okay, I know what you're expecting my next movie to be. I know what you think it is. Can I tell you what I think you think it is?
I know what it's going to be because we've had this argument several times in the past. You think it's the greatest horror film ever made? Go ahead, tell me.
A lot of people's going to think you're talking about maybe Halloween 1.
It's a dick move. Like if I was going to say to you Texas Chainsaw Massacre 74, it's a dick move. It's a perfect film, but we don't need to talk about it.
Right. Obviously, it's not the sequel. Even though Halloween 2, great movie in and of itself, I'm talking Halloween 3, Season of the Witch.
You don't really know much about Halloween witchcraft. The last great one took place 3,000 years ago when the hills ran red. Halloween, the dead might be looking in. Stop it! The world's going to change tonight, Doctor. Happy Halloween.
Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, the night no one comes home. Rated R, now playing at a theater near you.
Okay. All right. Now, we have had conversations about this in the past, and it's very divisive. I understand that. But one thing that I've noticed, it's almost just before the world ended, it was actually a lot of people that were actually coming out of the Halloween 3 closet. Defenders.
Defenders. You know what? If this movie wasn't called Halloween 3, if it was just called Season of the Witch, this would be remembered as a far greater flick.
Night of the Bad Dad. This, not only is Tom Atkins a bad dad in that film, he is also a miserable ex-husband.
Miserable.
Who cast Tom Atkins as a sex symbol?
No, it gives every man hope. Everyone is like, there's an everyman who's a sexy man. You're right. Who cast him? Woo.
He's a doctor that sleeps with everything that moves. He's a raging alcoholic. As far as I'm concerned, Stacey Nelkin in this film is a child.
Have you ever seen my autographed Stacey Nelkin?
What the hell?
Yes, indeed, my friend. Why do I have this? Yeah. I have no idea.
I think she's awesome. I think Halloween 3 is actually a masterpiece. That film collapses under its own weight.
Well, why did they name this Halloween 3 though?
You know yourself, this was an anthology film. You can read that in Fangoria. Every publication on Halloween 3 says that, but the producers got shy and they realized that they wanted Michael Myers back again. You know, that's done to death. I don't care. Halloween 3 is just incredible.
I'm gonna start checking stuff off for you. Over the top macho hero. Check. Even though it's Tom Atkins.
Absolutely.
There's some sexy times in this movie. Check, right?
Yeah.
Evil druid. Check.
Hold on, he's a warlock. He's a warlock in this film.
Yeah, okay, he's a warlock, but he's a druid warlock. It's obviously the druids, man.
I just don't want you to be discriminatory towards someone's religion, that's all.
Oh, absolutely. All right. Something that's not a religion then. Killer androids. Check.
Absolutely.
Moody synth soundtrack. Check.
In my opinion, now you may disagree with me here, I think this is John Carpenter and Alan Howard's greatest soundtrack they ever produced. Even better than Big Trouble in Little China.
Absolutely. Now, I know you're tossing out some words there. I kind of agree with you, but I think a lot of people would take you up on that debate.
You're going to have to forgive me. I'm on the Tenafly Viper, so hyperbole, it could be happening. But I gotta say, yes, Big Trouble in Little China soundtrack is the greatest piece of music ever written. But Halloween 3, man, oh man.
I more agree with you now. You kind of just talked yourself into it. You're like, Halloween 3 is the best. It's better than Big Trouble in Little China. Except Big Trouble in Little China is the best. That's the argument you just made.
I used to drive people crazy because they're like, hey, what's your favorite John Carpenter film? And I'm like, I'd say maybe Escape from New York, probably. And then eventually they'd come around and say, what's your favorite movie of all time? And I'd say Big Trouble in Little China. And they're like, but isn't that John Carpenter? I'm like, yeah. You figure that out.
I can't. Well, there's one box that this movie checks that not many other movies check, and that would be the implied death of millions of children in America on Halloween night with snakes coming out their faces.
It's not just snakes, bugs and puppy dogs' tails.
It was gruesome. So, listen, this is a great movie. If only they would stop calling it Halloween 3.
Look, you and I could debate the merits of Halloween 3 and any one of these horror films that we actually have in our stores here tonight, but we're forgetting something. The clock is ticking, and it's almost time, kids. Time for the big giveaway. So gather around your TV sets and put on your mask. Corey, you got yours?
Absolutely.
Please stop it. There's no more time. You've got to... Please stop it. Stop it now. Turn it off. Turn it off. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it.